Hmm. Seems like it's working. Hi everyone, and welcome to NordSync Online Seminar number 12. Time runs. My name is Stefan Frolov. We are having two fantastic guests with us today, Jan Terje Fosland and Elisabeth Turmo. Both are from Norway this time. Both are from Nordland, from North Norway. And I just wanted to say a couple of words about why we are gathering here every third or so Saturday. The NordSync project is organizing those interdisciplinary online seminars where we're talking about different ways of combining music with different art types. So today we are going to be talking about how it is possible to collaborate in the field of wine tasting and taste in all other possible senses to do with food and beverages and stuff like that. And that subject we will be discussing with Jan Terje. And Elisabeth is going to share her experience in the field of, how to say it correctly, Elisabeth, physiology almost,
Yes.
and physiotherapy, how our body and body senses help us to improve our playing, because Elisabeth is a professional violinist. I'm very excited. I'm very happy you could find time to join us on Saturday online, and I hope the technology will work for us today. I'll see how it works on, and it works, I think. So it's all good. Although, yes, it is working. I just have to check it because I'm today both technician and moderator. Jan Terje, would you like to start maybe? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and it's all yours.
Yeah, I will do my best. I'm 65 years old, so I'm quite old. I started as a chef and sommelier some 30 years ago. It's quite late for, I was originally planning to be an engineer, but I switched. So I went into the restaurant business. My interest for wine has been since I was 20 years old, I think. Then in 1992, I take the sommelier education in Norway, and then afterwards also the chef, fagbrev in Norwegian. I don't know the English word, but an educated chef. So I worked for 20 years in the restaurant business as a chef, sommelier. 6 last years of my work in this business, I had this own place at Stenneset in Mo i Rana. Stenneset owned Vickers Farm, is a part of Helgeland Museum. I ran that for 6 years. Then after 20 years, I found out I had to work every weekend, every night. I had my children, so I decided to quit and started the normal job, 8 to 4. But I'm very committed to wine and food, so I kept my contacts in the restaurant business, held courses, seminars.
Sommelier chef,
Food and
sorry, Jan
wine.
Terje, just
So,
for me to fully be
yeah.
on board. Sommelier chef, does it mean that you also into cooking, or it's just about the wine?
No, I had this combination as a chef.
Yeah.
I could cook, but also as a sommelier, I could combine food and wine. It's the great advantage if you're also a chef when you're a sommelier,
So it goes
because then you know the dish, you know the acidic balance in the dish, and then it's much easier to combine with the correct wines. It was not so usual 30 years ago. It was not so usual to be both a sommelier and chef.
Exactly, that's
You
what
know,
I reacted on.
chef or sommelier, but nowadays it's very common that's that many chefs take this education as a sommelier as well. So it's more and more usual to do that. But it's a great advantage to have both, of course. So that's my so for 15 years now I've been having these seminars and courses. I also participate in the wine club in Mo i Rana. We are 35 members, and We have 6 meetings a year. We also have arranged tours to wine countries, wine districts. And I'm the leader of this club. I've been so for 35 years now.
How big were
Also
the-
in 2001, I started with the Camerana with these evenings, wine evenings. Stefan, you participated in
Yes.
February. So when we combine food, music, and wine. So I will tell a little bit more about it later.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, could you just say a couple of words about how is the studying for a sommelier chef?
It's a year study. You have to read very much theory. You see, wine is quite technical, actually.
Mhm.
Now we're going to talk about wine as art. For me, it's that's quite new. But wine is very technical. You have to learn quite a lot. You have to have a good memory. Many districts, many grape varieties. So it's quite complicated. Then you combine the study, both theory and practice. For me, when I joined this education, for 5-6 years, I have read everything I found about wine. So my theory skills was quite good. I didn't have to work very much on the theory because I had it in my mind. But I hadn't tasted a lot of wines. So in this study, you taste hundreds of wines. We started always with wine before lunch because then your brain is
Sharp, yeah.
clear before lunch. So we 8 to 10 wines before lunch, and then theory. That was the days.
And then you taste
So
wine for
the
yourself.
exam is 2 parts. It's 1 theory, 50-60 questions, quite advanced questions. You have to write a lot. And then you have 6 wines. You're going to describe the wines. I will talk a bit about that. You describe the wines using your senses, your sight, your smell, and your taste. And the description of the wine is the most important of this part. So when you have described the wine, it's possible to make a guess or perhaps a suggestion of what grape is it, where does the wine come from, how old is it, those parameters. But you don't, perhaps you get a bit less points if you completely wrong with the guessing. But if the description is very good, then you have almost full score. So this description is very, very important.
I think I've seen some of those competitions somewhere online where they went, and it was so fascinating to see that sometimes they can't even guess the slope on a particular vineyard. It's like precise place and precise soil it was growing in, and the year. That's the most fascinating. How is it possible even? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I will tell a bit about it, but you can watch the wine. You can the color describe very much the grape. Specific grapes have specific color signatures, if you can call it that. You could also tell if the wine is very young or mid-range or very old because the color changes in years. So a red wine, when it's very young, it's almost violet blue because the ingredients that make the colors are very blue when they are young. It's also almost the same color type as in blueberry, as in the grape. So and when the wine ages, both on barrels or tank or in the bottle, it will change color to more brownish. So if you have a real old wine, red wine in your glass, it will appear almost brown, brick brown. So if you have such a wine in your glass, okay, this is not a young wine for sure. It's been matured, perhaps in the cask or in a bottle. So all these parameters, it tell you a lot. So you can okay, it could not be that, but it could be that. But of course, as to be a good wine taster, you have to have a very good memory. You have to taste thousands of wines. obviously, because it's quite difficult. It's very, very, very many parameters to look at. So it's very difficult to go straight on, okay, this is a Bordeaux wine from 1985. Perhaps you can say that because you have tasted a lot of Bordeaux wine from 1985. So your experience is good to that, and you know what is very special for that kind of wine, perhaps. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but
of course.
It demands training and very skillful memories. Very, very important.
Well, I find this fascinating because you're kind of remembering not words, not numbers, but the sense of your taste. That's what's on your mouth. That's kind of very. But we all are, of course, familiar with the feeling of remembering a taste of something you tasted maybe when you were a child. But that's very much. I always was confused a little bit about because how much of that is actually, technical, as you said, or how much of that actually is just our memory and how our kind of psychiatric system built in our brains has remembered the feeling rather than the taste.
Yeah, because when you describe a wine, it demands that you can associate it with for instance, fruits. A fruity wine, you for sure heard that expression, a fruity wine. Okay, what's a fruity wine? So then you have to recognize, is it berries, is it fruit, is it tropical fruit? The type of fruit is very, very important to detect in the wine. So it's not that easy, but
so there is
if you taste a lot of wines, it's more easy. So you have to associate. I remember my teacher in the sommelier school, he said, be interested in flavors, be interested in aromas. If you're in the grocery store, you go, there are fruits, smell on the orange, try to describe the smell of the orange, for instance, the lemon, because lemon, for instance, is very common in white wines. The citrusy aromas is very common. So you have to have these buttons.
A question. So there is like a palette which is kind of agreed on within the industry. So everybody knows what is meant when you say fruity or citrusy. It's the same for everyone.
A good description of wine has to be recognized by others. It must not be very, very personal.
Yeah.
Because if you use only your personal, quite limited associations, then it don't say the other quite a lot.
You need to have a common language, obviously.
Yeah.
It's actually very interesting to hear you talking about wine being more technical than artistic, because it kind of, I think, Elisabeth, kind of hits us in the right place, because we often hear people talking about classical music and violin in particular as about huge art, but it's actually very technical in the base. It all starts with the very technical things and a lot of work, as you just described. And then after that, maybe it will become art. But I just wanted to mention that because it's very understandable when you say that it's very technical. It's pretty much the same in all arts, I guess. It all starts as a craftsmanship and then it goes to the next step. Just before we let you continue, one last question. Is there like a mechanical application to wine tasting? Is there some kind of device that can do the work, that can taste the wine and say this is citrusy 45% and so
on? We don't actually have this device, but we have this wheel called, I should have taken it in the presentation perhaps, but it's like a wheel of aromas that you use as help. Then you divide the aromas in certain boxes, because for perhaps you can have, for instance, fruity and these spices, for instance. And fruity you can divide into berries, red berries, blackberries, fruity apples, pineapples, so in smaller aromas. Also spices, for instance, aromas of spices that you can sense in the wine, perhaps anise, cinnamon, many different type of spices. So you use this wheel, we call it aroma wheel, as an help, especially in the beginning of the education.
But it's still your tongue which defines which aroma, and your nose which defines the aroma.
Yeah.
I meant more like if there is some kind of a gas analyzer, like a proper mechanical tool that analyzes the smell and says,
No.
no, it
You
doesn't.
have these boxes with small, very small bottles, which is wine aromas concentrated in that small bottle. And you can smell it, and you can try to associate what kind of smell is that.
Fantastic that there is still absolutely
that you can buy online.
No digitalization in that.
It's almost a library of wine aromas. Yeah, I think it's the largest I've seen is 52 different aromas. But it's not that easy. If you have, you can perhaps try with strawberry and raspberry. It's very common in, for instance, wines from the Pinot Noir grape, the blue grape, Pinot Noir from Burgundy. And you try to sense the difference between strawberry and raspberry. It's not so easy actually when you try these small bottles. Yeah, it demands a bit of training to separate those aromas, because you see, we humans, we are not that good as to smell, to recognize smells. We are too far from the animals, I think.
Very interesting, fascinating.
So shall I start my presentation, or?
Yes, I think that's a good time.
Oh, I just lost my mouse keeper here. There. So.
Yay, that works.
Don't work for me, but I will try.
But you could do as you did before when you have your...
No, it works now, so I can start.
Yeah.
So you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah? I don't see you, but that's not a big problem. Okay, today's journey, I've called it. My presentation consists of 3 parts. I will talk a bit of wine, senses, and art, exploring how taste and smell become artistic sensory experiences, 6 human senses, in parallels to music and visual art, actually. I will also say a few words about the Camerana group of musicians here in Mo i Rana and the wine evenings that I had with them now for 25 years almost. And also a very important part of wine today is how climate change affects wine production and also the wines. So you just have to shout out if you have any questions, because I don't see you.
Yes, we will make noises.
Yeah. Okay, so the 6 human senses. I will focus very much on the appearance, smell, and taste, but we have described 6 human senses: hearing, sight, touch, the taste, smell, and also body sense. So I will concentrate now for only the 3 most important senses that we use when we're tasting wine. So wine tasting is about analyzing, describing these 3 factors. The appearance, obviously, it's important to tell if the wine is white, red, rosé, orange, or orange wines is also very popular these days. But the appearance is also on for instance, the sparkling wines. The bubbles in the sparkling wine can tell you a bit about what kind of sparkling wine it is. If the bubbles are quite large, then you can you can think that the wine is made from a very cheap method of making these sparkling wines. If for instance, a prosecco, if the bubbles are very, very small, it indicates that the wine are made in the traditional method, like in champagne or in cava, for instance. The smell tells you quite a lot. I have a glass of wine here, just to show you. As I said in introduction, also with the appearance, if the wine is very brownish, it can tell you a bit about the grape or how it's been matured in cask or in bottle. I have here a glass, a small sample of the wine from Piedmont in Italy. It's made from a grape they call Nebbiolo. And the Nebbiolo grape makes quite light colored wines. The color changes very fast into brownish. So if you see the wine, okay, perhaps this is a Nebbiolo, perhaps. The smell, you swirl the glass a bit, you feel the smell, and you describe the smell. Is it fruity? Is it spicy? Do you feel any oak cask dominating in the wine? The smell tells you very, very much about the wine. When you taste the wine, that's almost it sums up both the appearance and the smell. And your tongue, and you also have this center of taste upper part back in your nose. But your tongue also, of course, senses the 5 basic tastes: sweet, acidic, salt, bitterness, and also the 5th taste, umami. So all these 3 factors is very, very important when you describe the wine. And the description you make is very important if you also want to guess where the wine comes from. Mm-hmm. So, as I said, this wine is from Piedmont. It's made from Nebbiolo grapes. A skilled taster, when he tasted the wine, the Nebbiolo has quite a lot of this special ingredient in wine that's called tannin, that make your tongue feel quite dry. So all this, the color, the smell, and the taste will lead you into the grape. And you say, okay, this could be a Nebbiolo grape. I will presume it's from the Piedmont, the Barolo area. That's very, very, very simple how it was made. So there. So taste and smell is very closely connected. Perhaps you have experienced when you have a cold. Your nose is quite tight. Then you experience that your taste is also not so good. The channels in the nose are infected. Smell and taste are very close connected and work together. So you have to have these open channels when you taste wines. So we talk about the palette, the color, visual cues. When you hear a piece of music in different rooms or situation, perhaps, memories will always influence how you're awakened through smell. So you can experience wine that's very good in certain moods, occasions. For instance, when you're on holiday, you have a bottle of wine, it tastes fantastic. You buy the same wine back home, and it's not so good. So what's that? It's because of the mood, the occasion, it's the mood you're in. So the wine is very affected by your mood and how you perceive the environment around you, if I have to say it that way. So wine culture as an art form. I visited a lot of winemakers in Europe, especially. for many of those, they see themselves as artists, actually. They work in the wine district, for instance, Burgundy in France. They have not so large vineyards, small vineyards, fantastic grapes. And the tradition, often they have this domain, this property from their fathers and forefathers. So they keep the tradition and expression from this specific wine area. And they create this, often in their opinion, especially in France, a masterpiece given by nature that's vary from year to year. So the wine is the expression of the soil, the grape, and the climate. In French, they have this special word for that. It's called the terroir. It's a trinity for wine. So soil, grape, and climate. And then they create this kind of art in the wine. I don't know if you follow me, but do you? So, parallels to music and visual art, I've called this slide. The wine's complexity and structure, the balance, the harmony, the depth, and the room for personal interpretation. If you serve the same wine to, for instance, 10 different persons, you probably will have 10 different opinions of the wine. Some will like it, say, oh, this is fantastic. Others will hate it. This was not good. And some will be quite neutral. Okay, it was good, but nothing more. So very different how you interpret the wine. So yeah, it's a holistic experience. It's more and more common in Europe today that vineyards and perhaps farms are not only having grapes, they're having cows, they have other plants, they have fruits. So the whole making of the wine is a holistic action, actually. So comparing wine list, wine tasting, and service is very, very special. Okay. I don't think this file should be with us today. Actually, put it away, but it's here. Art is about communication between the work and the individual. So also the wine creates emotions and dialogue. You can discuss wines and engage multiple senses and gives you meaning beyond words, actually. Is my time running out, or is it okay?
Yeah.
So actually, I will have this file as the last file, but you could take it afterwards, perhaps, as a closer reflection, context and presentation, wine as art and senses and meaning. You can use that as questions when I'm finished, perhaps.
Yes, wonderful. It's so many parallels with.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Talking about wine as about an artistic enterprise,
Yeah.
and you named this Trinity, and
Yeah.
I just thought that this is exactly the way I choose wines because I'm no expert, and the best I can do always is I go for certain types of grapes which I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I know approximately which climate. So I know if
Yeah.
I want Nebbiolo, I go either to Italy,
Mhm.
or maybe if I don't feel like spending 200, but rather 100, I go to California because it's
Yeah.
a little bit
Okay.
similar. And I
Yeah.
know approximately this stuff. And it works most of the time. I don't know
Yeah.
how much. Obviously, knowing more would help more. But the question is like if then the most defining aspects of the quality of the wine is nature. Can we really
Yeah.
be talking about the artistic approach to it? How much human factor is it in there? If it only depends on the soil, climate, the amount of sun the grapes receive that particular year.
Mm. Yeah. That's a very interesting question, because you can have two different vineyards. They are closing together. They are neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
They are using the same type of grapes. They have the same soil. The sun is the same. They're using the same methods in making the wines. They're using the same type of barrels. But still, the wine is quite different. So why is that? So then I think it's the human factor
Mm.
that comes in. How dedicated is your approach to wine, to the wine? So it's all about the people, I think. When we visit wine producers, we see the different approach. Some are much more dedicated. Especially one of the first I visited several years ago, I was back in Piedmont in Barolo. It's a producer there is called Aldo Vaira. And they explained to us that they see the wines as their children. They have to educate them. They have to care for them. They don't go on holidays. They can't leave the wines alone. So they're very extremely dedicated. And also you can sense that in the wines. The wines are extremely well made, and it's very, very typical for the Axel district. And you can taste the wine from the neighbors. It's quite good, but it lacks this top quality
Mm.
that Vaira, for instance, as an example. So I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
yeah,
Absolutely. I
so the human
messaged.
factor I think is very, very important in winemaking. And now we are on the high quality wines. Of course, we don't the very, very commercial qualities. The producer that make millions of liters of wine. Here are small producers, and of course they make the best wines in the world. Mhm.
I see. I was just trying to fix your window so that it would be with us, but it didn't work out. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, so it's always a human factor then. I was
Yeah,
thinking, what's your attitude to, I don't know how it's called, probably there is a fancy French word for that, but the blends, when they mix different types of grapes, which are probably found in the same area, into
yeah.
one. Is that also a tool? Because you can obviously mix in the different
Yeah.
proportions and stuff.
Of course, blending is very, very, very important. And nowadays, several areas, for instance, the Bordeaux area, they use this parcel vinification. They detect, this is quite technical, of course, but they detect the terroir, the soil in each parcel of the vineyard, and they harvest parcel by parcel, and they make wine parcel by parcel. And then in the end, when each one are finished, maturing in casks, then they blend it in the final blend and taste different percentage of the parcels and find out that's the best we can do for this vineyard.
Mm.
So it's quite advanced, but because very technical. But you have to have extreme skills to blend wines. In Champagne, blending is a kind of art. The best blenders are very high asked for in Champagne. So the
How,
blending is very important. You see nowadays you have this in Norway. I don't know Sweden, Denmark, perhaps also. Famous persons that are not associated with wine, but perhaps with music. Go into the wine industry. They don't make the wine actually, but they blend the wines together with a winemaker, and then they could put a name on the label.
I see.
So that's also very common today.
Is it also a sommelier, the people who do the blending, or it's a different type of job?
No, not sommeliers do. A sommelier is a restaurant person.
Okay.
We work in the restaurant. But of course, sommelier education gives you a lot of skills in wine, but you don't make the wine.
Yeah, that's
you serve it, you sell it. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you want to be a good winemaker, you have to study 4 or 5 years in universities around Europe and also in California. And it's a very chemistry, very technical actually. But when you blend, you have to have this personal characteristic done. That's very important. Yeah.
Very interesting. Shall we talk a little bit about Mo i Rana project?
Yeah, a few words about that. I started up in 2002, I think, following this initiative from Anne Guri Frøystein, who sadly died in February. She was a fantastic lady. She was sharing an initiative back in 2002. We made contact with me if we could do events where we could combine music, wine, and food culture from a specific country. We have also we carried it out every year since 2002, maybe with the exception of 21 in the pandemic period. So very enduring concept. We also see the same audience keep coming back year after year, so it's very popular. So the event promotes cultural experience in a social setting. The participants can enjoy music, fine wines, and great food. We use the same place as I worked on my last year in the restaurant, the Stennes Wine and Food. So they're very skilled chefs. So they deliver very good food. And different countries. We've been to France, of course, several times. We've been to Spain, Italy, Hungary. The last event in February was a British approach, more Commonwealth perhaps, when we had British music and we had wines from England, New Zealand, and Australia. We've also been to Argentina, United States, of course, and Austria, to mention some.
Yeah.
So this has been very, very popular indeed. You use your senses, you use your ears, and you use your smell, you use your taste. So, and of course, a couple of glasses of wine, the mood is very, very good.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I was very happy to be part of the last edition with the British music and British wine. I was a little bit first. Let's say I was both surprised that because that era in my head didn't work proper either for wine or music. It's a bit tricky to find easygoing music and easygoing wine. I thought coming from Britain. But it worked perfectly. I was just not aware of all the possibilities there are.
I will mention a bit of England later.
We should have asked you, Elisabeth. You have much more experience coming after studies many years in London. Probably would have been easier for you to find both music. I don't know what's your approach to wine from Britain. Did you?
When I lived in England, I was drinking mostly Guinness when I went to bars.
That's the way.
Yeah.
Maybe Jante, you can stop sharing the screen and then you will see us and we will see you and it will be even easier. Unless you have some more to present there.
I had this climate change approach, but
yeah, we're coming back there then. It's just always nicer, and also our audiences, they will see us talking. That's great.
Because it's interesting that Elisabeth, you said you're drinking Guinness. I think the first time we had British music, almost 15 years ago, I think. Okay, I would select some British wines. No, that's not impossible. Not possible. There are no good British wines in the Norwegian market 15 years ago. So we had to serve a beer, of course, and a farm cider. That was the British type of drink we could buy in Norway. But as you will see later in the presentation, England now is making fantastic wines for several reasons, of course.
It's very interesting, and I do think personally that wine is an artistic thing. And I'm starting a new project actually this year. I'll just share a little bit. It's called Perception, and it's going to be a series of different productions, kind of exploring how our different other senses, apart from hearing, can help us perceive the world. And I definitely think that, combined with music, of course. So the first one will be like not quite one of the six senses, but like we're gonna do music through movement. So we're gonna do some dance on the side, and then the next one is music through word. So we're gonna experience how the poetry goes together with music. And I think wine and wine in particular, given that it has a couple of thousands years of history, definitely can be applied as one of the senses and one of the artistries that go well with music to help perceive the world. In my opinion.
Sounds like a great project.
Yeah. We are looking forward. We are starting in Østfold this autumn, and we will see. Maybe it comes to Nordland as well.
But did you, Stefan, join the Kamerata?
Yes, I was on that last project.
Okay, great.
I was very lucky to be invited. It was a lovely project, lovely musicians, and Jan Terje, of course, delivering this fantastic menu. We got to try some of the wines after. They were really great. I was very surprised. Never, as you said, probably, Jan Terje, I stuck in 15 years ago in my understanding of Britain as a country of beer alone.
I think this evening we arranged it when the audience arrived. They got a glass immediately in their hands as an aperitif. Often a sparkling wine, perhaps, but also white wine, and then you have this the first part of the music, and then you have the break, 45 minutes when we serve the food and we serve the wines, and I tell a bit about the wine, the food, the culture from this specific country, if that's a theme. So I feel the audience are quite open-minded, and I also think, you see, we Scandinavians or Norwegians, we are quite reserved people. One glass of wine, it's much easier.
Yes, exactly.
So it's an opener, it's a key factor, I think. That's the way it is.
It's very interesting. How do you explain that the wine as a beverage survived through so many generations and centuries? I mean, obviously, originally it was just a way of preserving, because in the Middle Ages it was much safer to drink wine than water, just simply because it was a kind of a question of survival at that time. It wasn't at all essential and sensory experience as we have it now. How do you explain that it survived and it kind of keeps getting more and more popular? Not popular, but I mean, it's as actual as it was, or maybe even more.
I think, as we've seen in Europe, Europe was this machine for development of the wine, and from the Middle Ages and forward, I think more and more the wine consumption has been with food in those countries, France, Italy, southern part of Europe. So the wine is very connected to food. You don't drink only wine; you have connected with food. So I always say, if you travel to a wine district in, for instance, Italy, eat the local food and drink the local wine, because the food and the wine has grown up together as a unity. So often you will very, very often you find that the local food and the local wine fits perfectly together. Yeah. And especially in Italy, I think they are very proud of the local wine, the local food. That's a speciality for Italy. I think when you travel from north to south, you will actually experience that the food are quite different. For instance, up in the north and to the south, and also the wines are very different. They use the local grapes, they use the local methods, and so it's very connected, food and wine. So for me, wine is a drink for food. I very, very seldom drink wine alone. It's elevate the food in a very, very special way.
Very
So it's very, very connected. Food culture and wine culture, that's a unity.
Since we have a chance to talk to a real sommelier here, I just want to ask a couple of like newbies questions, just because it's so fascinating. Wine collectibles, and you know, very old aged wine. How much value is it there apart from the idea of it's being unique? That if it was produced in 1956, it's probably very few bottles left, and so on. How good is the wine from 1956? How good can it be? How much better can it be than the same brand, same slope, but 2005?
Yeah, I don't say that it's better, but that it's different. So then you have to appreciate the taste of an old wine, if you understand what I mean. For many people, they will taste an old wine that's 50 years old. They will taste it. It wasn't very special wine. It tasted very different from the wine you're used to taste, for instance. So the wine is very different. The quality is not higher than it was. So if you understand what I mean, you have a high quality wine, 5 years old. You taste it, and you have all the characteristics of a young wine. Then you put it in your cellar, forget it in 50 years. That's the theory then. And you put it back, taste it. It's the same unique quality, but it's very different from the wine it was.
Is it?
And then can you appreciate the appearance and the taste and the smell as it is then as the young version of the wine? It's a very, very, very different.
I'm sorry for the comparison, but is that phenomena is then of the same nature as the, I don't know, some weird fermented fish dishes we have in the Northern? Is it like when people are very tired of trying the same silt, they in the end make a surströmming out of it just to?
Yeah.
It's a little bit the same then.
It's give you total different experience, total different taste, and you appreciate that taste. Okay, perfect. Some friends of mine that don't see the point with having wines in the cellar for 30 years. What's the point of that? I drink young wines. They are perfect for me. I don't appreciate old wines because they are very different. You see this young, energetic fruit in the young wines that will slightly disappear when the wines get older. So the fruit will lower down, but the spices and other aromas will come in the wine. So it's what you like actually. But of course the value is perhaps the wine is very rare, and then of course the prices could be quite high. So a lot of these old wines you can only buy it in auctions, even in Norway actually.
In your work as a sommelier, how much importance does the historical aspect has when we're talking about old wines? Because I do realize that maybe the taste of the wine from 1956. I was once trying a wine from 1970 and I wasn't that impressed. but the story that followed with it was very interesting. And when you hear about the cognac Napoleon from 1812 or something, that obviously comes with an additional value of the story that comes with it. How much, in your experience, does this influence the overall experience?
I can use an example. So I think now of that in the wine clubs some years ago, we had the opportunity to taste a Madeira wine from 1862. I think it's the oldest wine we've ever tasted. And you get this sense of history in 1862. It was the Civil War in the United States. Very much that happened since 1962. We opened the bottle, we pour it in the glass, and we had it on the tray. We put it out in the restaurant, quite large room, and the aromas of the wine filled the whole room. As I remember this wine, I feel goosebumps as I'm speaking now, because it was so fantastic, and the wine was from 1862. It was 100 years old.
Yeah, 150.
More, 150 years old. Yeah, 150 years old. But still alive, still kicking. And that's also a specialty for the fortified wines of the Madeira island. They can keep for an extremely long time in the cellar. So that was, but it was quite silent in the room. Think where people were thinking, the history that this wine.
Were they thinking the history, or rather the numbers of the price tag, the amount of zeros of that bottle?
Yeah, perhaps when this wine came in the Norwegian market, I think it's 15 years ago, they were quite cheap. I think it cost 1,500 kroner. That's quite cheap for a wine that's old.
That probably indicates that there are quite many of those bottles left. How is that possible? Where were they found?
No, because these fortified wines, 15 years ago, it was not popular. It was not trendy, so the prices were very low.
So somebody just stocked it, or?
Yeah. Today, the prices are much higher because the world has opened their eyes from this wine. So now you have to pay 5,000 perhaps, but I still think quite cheap, because you can buy young wines from Bordeaux, Burgundy that cost 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 kroner. Wine that was made 2 years ago. So still this wine from Madeira is a good best buy, I think still.
I think we have to kind of round it up a bit. We are a bit short on time. It's very sad, Jan Terje, because I want to have more questions. But bringing it back to like the artistic field even more. Art is very often in affection with the trend or with the fashion. How much fashion is it in your industry, in wine?
I think it's very influenced by fashion.
So actually, there is like trendy times, like you mentioned earlier, orange wine. Is that
one of the most last few years? There's been a trend from what shall I call it, the natural wines. It's very trendy. You see great restaurants as Noma in Copenhagen, Maemo in Oslo. Many restaurants serve this so-called natural wines. It's not a protected name, so you can call many wines for natural wines. But the idea behind it is that you don't use so much technique in making the wine. You put you harvest the grapes, you put it in a tank, and you use the natural yeast that's on the grapes, start fermentation, make the wines, and bottle it. Several producers also do not add sulfur, because sulfur is a very, very important ingredient in winemaking to keep the wine. It stops the oxidation of the wine, and you can keep it for a longer time. But they skip the sulfur, and that's quite risky business. So some producers are extremely good to make those kind of wines. They make good wines, but many of those they fail because the wines appear. I would say, if I have natural wine that is gone, I smell it. It smells like shit. It's not good. It's acidic. Smells dirty. It's not clean. Okay, it's gone. So for me, that's not interesting. But also the interesting part that this movement, natural wine movement, say, okay, this wine are interesting. This wine are good. For me, they're not good. So when you just add a bit sulfur, you protect the wine in a much better way, and also natural wine are very, very good. They're very expressive. They reflect the soil and the grape very, very good. So I think we will see now that many of those producers, for instance, a producer I tasted a lot of wine from in Sicily, in the Etna, volcano Etna Nordic, called Cornelissen. He made natural wines without sulfur. The bottle varies a lot. Some of the wines were good, some of the wines were bad. But now we started to use a bit sulfur, and the wines are fantastic. So, but natural wine is very, very trendy. We also see in Norway that champagne is very trendy. We buy a lot of champagne. I spoke to an importer of that also was my teacher in the sommelier school, Christopher Mostue. He import hundreds of thousands of bottles of champagne. The Norwegian buy it all. So we're fond of champagne, obviously, and sparkling wines. So in the opposite, you have also those who love Prosecco. Prosecco is also very trendy.
But do you see as this will continue as a trend, or it will just influence somehow the main kind of industry, and it will just go into nowhere?
What do you mean? The natural wines, or
the natural wines? Yes, it's now a new trend, and I guess
I think it will stabilize in a sort of way. I think those producers that are not so committed, not so skilled, they will disappear, and the producers that are using a bit of sulfur, they will succeed, of course. Yeah, because I think also young people are very fond of those natural wines. They like them, but I think that the bad ones will disappear and the good ones will still be there in the market. That's my opinion. My opinion.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Jan Terje. It's extremely interesting to hear, because I don't know how about you, Elisabeth, but I can hear a lot of parallels, to be honest, with classical music and the trending there. For example, we also have some appearing and disappearing trends in the kind of main tree of classical music field and music field generally, which kind of shows up there, influences a bit, and then if you are too much or too little with the sulfur, it just goes to waste. But some stays and enriches it. So it's kind of very fascinating to hear how it all kind of showing us that we are humans in whatever we're doing with our artistic approach.
I can just say a few words in the end here, because I suppose I'll speak a bit of the climate change, but perhaps we don't have time. But we talked about England, and I saw this British white wine in the last event in February with Camerana. It was a Chardonnay from Kent in England. So now they say that the England is the new Chablis, the new Champagne. They have the climate, they have the soil, the same soil as in Chablis and Champagne, very chalky soil. And if you're speaking about trends in Norway, actually, I think also in Europe and Sweden, perhaps, and Denmark, British wines are very, very trendy. They're making they market themselves as producers of sparkling wines, and they make extremely good sparkling wines that compete with Champagne both in prices and in quality. So, but they're also making still wines, more and more still wines.
Mm.
So extremely good Pinot Noir, extremely good Chardonnay. So England is up and coming and very trendy.
Is it partly
And
because
that's
it's getting
because of the
colder?
climate changes. That's quite interesting.
Mm.
5 years ago, they had no mature grapes each year in England. Today they have mature grapes every year.
So maybe in 20 years, Nordland Chardonnay? Nordane?
Yeah, we see some commercial producers of grapes in the southern part of Norway already.
Yeah.
So the northern part, England, Denmark, northern Germany, for instance, they have this positive effect of climate change. In Italy, in Spain, southern part of France, it's a quite different story.
Yeah.
Then they struggle a lot.
I see. Well, thank you for that. I hope you can stay a little bit. We will chat a little bit with Elisabeth, talking about. Elisabeth, what are we going to be talking about?
Right?
Yes. What are we going to be talking about? Where do we start your trip?
Just first wanted to say that it was very interesting to hear about the wine, and I got really inspired to do a concert like the ones in Verona, because that sounds just amazing to combine the taste and the music.
I've heard they do in Mosjøen as well. I've heard of some advertisements about wine tasting evenings with music, I guess.
Okay.
Do you know
Great.
anything about Jan Terje? Do they do it in Mosjøen as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think the wine club, they also have wine club in Mosjøen. I think they had some of the same things, just not exactly the same concept, perhaps, but some variety of it. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I wonder if they have it in Oslo. You do live in Oslo, Elisabeth, right?
Yes, I live in Oslo. I do, but I come from Mosjøen. Yeah.
And those are small towns in the North Norway, just for the people outside who are not familiar. Not that north, but more
almost on
north
the polar circle. Almost on the polar circle.
Almost,
Yeah, it's a small town, but with a lot of culture. There's always a lot of things happening there with music and different cultural events. So that's great to be us.
How do you feel starting by telling us a little bit about what you do, Elisabeth, and where you were born, where did you study?
Yes, so I was born in Mosjøen, as we mentioned. And right now I just finished my bachelor degrees in physiotherapy. And I'm doing 1 year of working as a physiotherapist. It's like an obligatory year after the studies. But I'm also a musician. And I started to play the violin when I was 7. And I met Stefan. We met at the famous course in the north of Norway.
Truly famous, indeed.
Yes. There used to come people from all over the world, or it still does, to this course.
They still do it, right? They do it this year again. 25 years or something. It's impossible. It's a fantastic success.
Yeah, it's fantastic, yeah. So started to play the violin, and as I mentioned, it's a great cultural and music environment in Mosjøen. So had a lot of great inputs there, and started to also travel to Trondheim when I was 12 to take lessons with the professor there. And eventually I started to travel to Oslo to go at Barratt Due music school in Oslo. And and then I moved to Oslo and took my bachelor degree in music at Barratt Due. And I played the violin. I don't know if I mentioned that. Violin and the hardanger fiddle, the Norwegian traditional instrument. And I was living in London and did my master's degree in music there at the Royal College of Music. But I've also been doing body work for musicians for many, many years now. I can't remember even when I started.
just wanted to, under like for those who are not in the musical world, because we have different artists, that you did the hardest place to get possible. The Royal College of Music in London is like a mecca for all the musicians. It's almost impossible to get in. It's like it's a fantastic success. You have to mention more of that, Elisabeth. This is just insane that you made such a fantastic like way. You started in Mosjøen, which is a very cultural city, but it's very small. We can just say for people who are living, I don't know, in the US, how many people are in Mosjøen? 5,000 people, maybe.
A bit more. I should know this.
Yeah.
Jan Terje knows. Maybe 12,000.
I think it's approximately 15,000.
15,000 people.
Between 13 and 15.
So basically, you know everyone by name there, right? You definitely know everyone by name, and then you start taking lessons in Trondheim, which is like, I don't know, what is it, 600 kilometers, 60 miles at least. And then you went to Oslo, and you got to the fanciest school there is in Norway, and then the fanciest school there is, period, probably one of them, right? It's a very impressive path. Just wanted to stop there because you kind of very modestly went directly to what you do, and I think it's an important part to understand where your backgrounds and what are you talking about. Just a little remark.
Yeah, it's quite cool because I don't think I've been thinking about that. It's a bit cool that I went to Royal College of Music in London, but I was there now a few weeks ago playing 2 concerts with the orchestra.
Yeah.
And then went to see the school, and I saw the school and I was like, wow, it's such a cool school. I can't believe I went there.
Yeah, it's like once you leave it, right? It's not as like you don't think about it that often, but for many people, Elisabeth, this is like, wow, you have to talk about more. It's really interesting, and I want to hear more about it later. But please continue. Yes.
Yeah. Where was I?
Somewhere around that. Now you're doing the physiology in addition to your.
Oh yes. Yeah, I started with Timani. It's like a method for body use for musicians. It's basically exercises and anatomy, and you kind of do the exercises and then you test it with the instrument. And I just remember that I got an instant change in my sound when I got like one of my support muscles working. And then I was addicted. I was like, oh, I need more of this. Like, I've been working so much on technique and but not really knowing how to work on it. Or I've been working on it like from here down to the instrument. But after starting working with the whole body, I felt like it was easier to improve my technique and and so that I could express my musicality more easily. Because you, Stefan, were talking about craftsmanship, and like, yes, it is a craftsmanship playing an instrument, and it is easier to actually express the music when you have the craftsmanship working for you. And that's why I got really interested in how can I use my body so that I get a bigger repertoire of sounds and expressions in the music. Yeah.
It's absolutely, I mean, I kind of felt very moved by that because I was seeing a little bit you doing all those kind of researches in that field of physiology and how to make it work better. I'm a violinist myself, so it kind of is a little bit parallel to what I was also experiencing. I think maybe many people who come to a certain level start finally thinking about how physically they should be doing things, just because we're getting older, some muscles start hurting, and maybe it doesn't matter as much when you're 7, but then when you're 27, that's there. And it's just very interesting that we kind of come to the same points through different ways how you can think about it. I didn't have any course in Alexander, sadly. Maybe it would have helped, but I had a very experienced like Russian teacher who just said, yeah, this way it will work, this way it won't work. So there was no like plan B, and not so much understanding I had to do myself. Understanding, I mean, like why we do that, not what we do. That I had no problem with, but why exactly should I be sitting this way and not this way, and holding this way and not this way? So it's kind of very interesting, very fascinating, and therefore I'm triple interested in your way, because you went even further. You took an education in physiology. This first course, was it in Norway you took it? The one you mentioned, Timani?
Yeah, that's a Norwegian pianist who developed. So that was in Norway. And the Alexander technique, we actually had it as a part of the education at Royal College of Music. They had Alexander technique teachers that was kind of specialized in musicians. And then I did my education in physiotherapy, and I've started lately doing more strength training, and actually realized that also helps my playing. Discovered so much through strength training, and so that's also a journey that I'm currently on. Yeah.
I can put a comment. I'm sorry. The strength training. I'm an old man, 65 years old, and I'm also, I didn't mention it before, but also as an amateur playing the clarinet in the local wind band, Norwegian Music. It's quite good ensemble.
Arts are never coming alone; they are always combined. I knew you would play something, Jan Terje. I had no doubt about that.
But I have trouble with my hands. When you're playing much clarinet, you often get problems with your thumb and your fingers. But I tried to. 6 years ago, I started to lift some weights, and it's quite. It's been better.
Yeah,
I feel it's better when I'm playing.
It's definitely an effect. And it's very surprising that we are not explained that when we're little, that you have to be in a good physical shape to do whatever you do. It doesn't feel so physical, but it is. And that's
of course it is. It's physical, right?
Yeah, quite static also.
Yeah.
So it's even more important, I feel, for musicians to know how to find support in the body because of that it is so statical. Is that a word? Yeah.
Can you say a couple of words for those newbies of us? What is Alexander technique? What is Alexander technique?
Alexander technique.
And who's Alexander?
Yes, I think he was an actor, if I remember right, that had trouble with his voice, and then he suddenly realized when studying himself, when he was talking and acting, that his neck was a bit off. It was like forward and down. So he started working on getting the neck a bit more up and forward. And with working with the neck, he experienced changes in the whole body. So the Alexander technique is quite focused on the neck. That's at least my experience. Now it's some years ago that I did Alexander technique, but I mean the principles I have been using, taking with me. I did 1 year of the Alexander technique teaching training in London, and that was great. They use their hands a lot to guide your body, which is amazing if they are good at it, which they were. Yeah.
But so it's entirely physical, or it's also some kind of psychological technique? Because in my experience, it comes very often together in the pack.
Yes, in Alexander technique, they also use like mental cues for body use, like to notice your bad habits that you kind of. It's a bit difficult to explain, but awareness and noticing when you're doing the bad habits, and then being able to change it when you notice. But the mental is also very important. I was doing a lot of this, how do you call it, visualizations before my last concert. With Sibelius violin concerto. Like I was visualizing how great it could go, but also everything that could go wrong. and visualizing how I would continue if something went wrong. I don't know if you, Stefan, have been doing any of these kind of things, or
I once played Brahms with orchestra, and it was an amateur orchestra. So I had to do a lot of that visualization. What happens if we are? And I actually got to use it a couple of years later when I did Brahms concerto on some audition. And the pianist I had with me, like, I wouldn't say he was bad, but probably it wasn't the best day. So we were constantly, he was constantly a couple of bars before me. Maybe because the concerto is not played so often, and the pianists are maybe not as invested in that as they should be, because it's a tricky part there. But yeah, he was always late a couple of bars. So I had to, and then this training I did a couple of years before preparing for the orchestra kind of helped me a lot, because I was chill. Just 2 more bars on that harmony. You know, the first page there, it's a very tricky one for ensemble, because the orchestra goes totally kind of in their own pulse and everything. It's very tricky. Yeah.
Oh, but that's cool to hear that. Many years ago, but it helped you.
It stuck there because it was kind of stressful. So yeah, I really can imagine what you went through. But it sounded amazing. I have to just applaud you. It's such a great experience to, and I listened. I think not the whole thing, perhaps, if you uploaded the whole thing, but very, very great playing, and so big hall you played in. You can maybe share a little bit about that experience. What orchestra was it, and how did you get to play?
Thank you. That was very nice to hear. It was with the Oslo Symphony Orchestra in London. I played as a soloist, Sibelius Violin Concerto. And then the week before I was going to play that, I got an email like, hey, can you step in? Our violinist has gotten sick. It was Newbury Symphony Orchestra, so another symphony orchestra.
Oy.
So I stepped in on 2 days' notice.
Oh.
It was the same concerto that I was playing with the other orchestra, so it was good timing. So yeah, then I played the first concert with Newbury Symphony Orchestra, and it was like so many people there. It was a record-breaking night with audience. Wow. It was packed, but I wasn't nervous at all. It was so interesting, and I just enjoyed the music, and I felt like the emotions of the music was just going through, and it was such a great experience. And I feel like, oh, that's what doing music is about. It's not about perfection or like, but I've been practicing a lot and doing like a lot of before work, of course, to feel. But when you get there and just be able to express the emotions, that was amazing.
That's really tricky to get that feeling of comfort before, so that you can open. That's really cool. Maybe a bit later I will ask you to share a little bit of your techniques, how you prepare for such a big concert, because I think for many, most of our listeners are musicians, so it will be very good for them to know how you can prepare for such a stress as playing with a big symphony orchestra on a 2-day notice and be comfortable at the same time.
Yeah, and actually the last years I have never practiced as little as I've been practicing the last few years. But when I've been practicing, I feel like I have developed, because my practice is more focused and specific. Like before, many years ago when I was studying, I was just practicing so many hours and hours and hours, but not really practicing. And I think also the restitution, like when I was preparing for this concert, I was practicing every weekend because I was working as a physiotherapist from Monday to Friday. But the restitution I got between my practice sessions, I felt that was so effectful. Like as if what I've been doing in the weekend actually stuck the next time I was practicing. So that's quite interesting, because before I was practicing hours and hours every day without rest. I don't know about you, Stefan, how often you practice nowadays?
Lately, it's been quite tricky, but I noticed the same effect. But I think it has something to do with the fact that before you were practicing for the sole purpose of practicing, and now when you do practice, you practice with all your experience before on how to achieve certain things, and you have a very clear goal. And goal always makes it much more efficient.
That's true.
I kind of discovered that many years ago, and there was a period when I was practicing extremely much, and I had a lot to prepare for. And then I actually discovered that maybe I don't need to play the whole 25 pages. I can choose 3 lines, and I fix them today, and then I check them tomorrow, and they will be there. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's so true.
That's kind of it's interesting because it's craftsmanship first, and then the art, as we were mentioning earlier. I'm sorry, Andrea, we will be touching a little bit of the specifics, and later we will be talking about shoulder rests, I guess, a little bit, just a tiny bit, because I always wanted to have a person who we can talk about those aspects with your also expertise in physiology. But going back to physiology, so you have now a bachelor in physiology, or how does it work? Are you a doctor? Dr. Turmo, or
not yet. I wish. No, I have a bachelor degrees in physiotherapy, and after I finished my turnus, we call it, that I work 1 year.
A practice kind of.
Yeah, practice. I will be certified as a physiotherapist and can work as a physiotherapist. So I will be done 15th of August.
Great, congrats.
Yeah. So in the autumn, I was at the acute psychiatric hospital working as a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
Now I'm working with like 80, 90-year-old people, which is very cozy. Yes.
Fascinating. How was studying medicine after studying music? How was your experience?
It was really hard. Like music was so easy compared. On the first lecture of anatomy, I thought, I can't do this. I will quit.
Was it real bodies?
Oh yeah, that we also did.
Okay.
But the first lecture, like we had on Zoom, I remember, about physio or about anatomy, so challenging. But I managed somehow. Yeah, and it's like academic writing and stuff like that. I have not been used to with the music education, so it was quite different. But I'm super happy that I've been doing it.
And was it Oslo University then where you got that, or?
Yeah, Oslo Metropolitan. Yeah.
Metropolitan. Yeah.
So yeah, it has been quite a journey.
Does it have? Did you connect this choice of retning in medical aspect to your musical career? Are you planning to use it in the kind of musical industry, maybe helping musicians with their problems with muscles, or it's not really like connected for you what you have spent some years of your life for and the new profession?
Yeah, when I was studying physiotherapy, the more I learned and the more fields I learned about, the more like my world opened up and I understood, okay, it's so many exciting and interesting things to learn about. So I'm open to work with musicians, and I feel like I know a lot of how to work with musicians. So I really want to do that. But I'm also really interested in psychomotor physiotherapy, how you can use your body to feel better mentally and with yourself. Yeah, so I think I'll do a bit of many things. Yeah. But I combine it with the music performing. Yeah.
I just thought that there is probably a very big demand for your competences in that field, because I think Oslo Phil has a position of masseuse or a person doing massages professionally, because apparently people are in pain working there. which kind of, I think, is a very good illustration for that there is a certain problem with how conscious professional musicians are about the use of their muscles and body, and the problems coming with that. So, and we had, I remember when I was studying in Oslo, we did have a subject called Arbeidsphysiologi,
Yeah.
which was supposed to kind of protect us from the what do you call it, the hazardous hazardous effects of playing violin many hours a day.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest, between us here and between the 5 million people watching us, that it wasn't so good. And the problem was that I think people teaching it were not really musicians. They were very good, I believe, in physiology, and they could all the anatomy, but they had no idea what it is to sit in the orchestra and play the violin. Like the very first advice we got there, how to sit in the orchestra rehearsals, which, if I can imitate, is something like that. And I just had to tell the teacher that unfortunately I won't be alive if I sit even 2 hours like that. You can't survive that. It's impossible. Your back is destroyed, your bottom is destroyed, everything is destroyed. You just can't do that to your body. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And they don't know that, of course, because to them that seemed a very natural, good posture and stuff. But you sit in orchestra 8 hours sometimes. You cannot do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like the most important thing for our body is variation. Like there is no, in my experience, I realize more and more that it's no like correct posture, like to move in different ways. Also with the instrument, like to not sit as a statue. Like of course you can work with some stabilizing muscles and use the stabilizing muscles in your advantage, but to not be completely.
Could we talk a little bit about your way in discovering how to use your body and your playing techniques? Because I know you well. I've seen you playing before, and I can see that you have developed a lot in your how you produce the sound, the way you stand, your right hand, your left hand, your posture, your movements are very natural when you play a very complicated repertoire such as Sibelius Violin Concerto. Is it all conscious? Have you been investing time in particular finding the positions, or it's more sort of a complex development? Or you're conscious about how you're going to be standing, your posture, your movements? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
In the practice room, I explore a lot with my body use.
What do you mean explore? How does it work technically? So you're spending hours in front of a mirror, or how? I think it will be very useful for many to just get that experience.
For example, lately I've been working a lot with the muscle behind my shoulder, or under my shoulder blade, called serratus anterior. And I've been working a lot with that muscle.
Under left arm then? Yeah.
On the both arms.
Yeah.
And using that muscle to stabilize my shoulder blade so that my arms can be more free. That is one example. And I've also...
You're like playing Sibelius Violin Concerto and thinking about those tiny muscles under your blades?
When I practice. But really important for me, and I think in general, is that when I perform, I cannot think about that.
Obviously, yeah.
So I did some practice performances before the concert with the orchestra, just to practice performing and getting the emotions in focus and the music in focus. Because when I practice, I have a lot of focus on my body. But I think when you perform, you cannot think about that. You need to let that go and just focus on the music and the emotions. But hopefully when I come to the stage then I've been working so much with with the technique through the body that it just works. Hopefully. Yeah, I don't know if that was.
Yeah. That says a lot. About
that is just one example. Like, because I've been working with the body in so many years, it is in quite a detailed level that I work on my technique now. But yeah, so.
Do you feel like you do big adjustments still, like when it comes to the left or right hand, for example? Your right hand, I felt like changed a little bit into better side since the last time. So it's even more sound control, more flexibility. Do you keep working that, or it just comes naturally because you're focusing on different things?
Yeah, I keep changing all the time. Like, I explore all the time, and that is quite tricky sometimes because it doesn't like or no, what did I want to say? It's yeah, I change all the time and I explore and try to develop all the time. And lately, I noticed that my hand was quite stiff when I was playing. So then, because I saw it on a video, then I explored the muscles controlling the outer part of the finger and trying to hold my bow with those, and then being able to move a bit more with the hand and being more flexible. So that is also an example of how I work with the body when I practice. But inside of the hand, we have a really important stabilizing muscles that we can use to get bigger sound and more stable bow hand. But for me, I've been using too much of that and too little of the outer joint. So I needed to go back to actually connecting with those and getting more flexibility. So it's always it's kind of a dance between stability and flexibility. I feel, yeah.
And now you're your own teacher, as you said. You're analyzing your videos and you're thinking then not only about maybe some examples of other performance, like I used to do when I was young. I don't know, I think probably you did too. When we were younger, we were just thinking of how others do it. But now you're more like analyzing and seeing muscles and muscle work. Is that how it works? That's what you kind of gained by getting the education in the physiology, that you now sort of, instead of seeing I don't know, Heifetz hand or oyster hand, now you see more like problem with this muscle and problem with this muscle. Is that sort of the change? Yeah,
definitely. And I still analyze great violinists on YouTube. And I try to understand what are they doing like with the body. Yeah, so
one specific question, since you're analyzing the old ones and so on, what's your take on the playing without shoulder rest or with shoulder rest, pro and against? Because in old times there were much more people playing without any support, and most of those legendary ones are playing without. Do you see any connection?
Lately I have been removing my shoulder rest, and I just use this small pad under, and I don't.
What is shoulder rest? They need to know. It's this thing which we put underneath the violin, which helps us to hold it. Yeah, it's and the big discussion is always whether or not it should be there, because in old times probably it wasn't, like in 1700s. I don't know though if they had any, but sorry.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think in my experience, the most important is that you actually have stability from this muscle called serratus anterior, because if you have that, it's easy to hold the violin with the shoulder rest or without the shoulder rest. So now I've been removing my shoulder rest and I just use a little pad, and I've been using even more of that muscle And then I feel it's easy to play without a shoulder rest. And that muscle is it's kind of made for stability. The fibers in the muscles, they are very they can be working for a long time. So it feels easy to hold the violin when I have those muscles under my shoulder blade activated. So for me, I think that is more important that you activate the serratus anterior than if you have a shoulder rest or not.
Yeah,
but
because it's like a consequence. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't have the serratus anterior as a support of your arms, it will be quite challenging to not use a shoulder rest, I think, because there is nothing that is stabilizing the violin. I don't know what your experience is, Stefan. You don't use shoulder rest? Or?
I don't use shoulder rest, but it's exactly the same experience. I always say people, if you don't want to use the shoulder rest, then you need to be in physical shape there, and you also need to understand that you hold the violin then. I'm a big pro no shoulder rest person, a huge one. But I totally agree that, and I see, and it's very nice to hear from me the names for the muscles, because I obviously don't have the education to know that it's all kind of science-based, and the choice. Jan Terje, it's just a big discussion in the violinist world about whether or not have it. That's why I just had to use the chance to finally get an expert version of that. Yeah. But maybe we should have an online workshop, Elisabeth, just to discuss that, and you can show and so on. I will see if we can book something like that. Maybe an actual live workshop would be better, huh?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, we can have a seminar, musicians for musicians, when we actually share that, because I think it's definitely a market for that, or market, maybe it's a bad word, demand, because I see so much uncompetent statements about that on the internet, which I think is harmful. It's just hazardous to do things, and especially like very often I observe. I subscribe to a couple of like workshops all over the world who are making customized shoulder rest and chin rests, and they're making huge money on selling people higher shoulder rests than there are on the market. And I think that this is hazardous, and I kind of recognize that because when I was young, like age of 14, and I was very much invested in the violin playing, many hours as you described, and I was constantly thinking that, yeah, my shoulder is too low. I need to do it higher. And I had many friends who just were, going higher and higher, and that's no good for your body. They end up having, scoliosis of different shapes, especially if you practice very many hours. And that's, scoliosis in that young age leads to that you have to wear, I don't know, shoes, one shoe higher than the other one for the rest of your days. That's really dangerous and not good for health. And most important, that's just wrong. Because as you described, it's not really a question of how high is your shoulder rest. It's more the question of how you use your body and what muscles are supposed to be involved. So I think it's just a very important and very good subject to maybe we should take another appointment for that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And
But bringing it back a little bit to, since we're talking about art, and how did this physiology knowledge influenced your artistic kind of path? Have you noticed the difference again, and what was the difference?
Between what? Sorry, I didn't.
It's like you partly mentioned that already, that after you took the education and you started practicing a little bit different routine, like not as much perhaps, but more focused, more conscious about what you do, what you seek. Have you noticed effect on your musicality and your art in violin playing? You kind of mentioned that you were feeling very free on that last concert, and I can say as an audience it did feel very free. So do you connect that? Is it a part of this journey you took?
Yes, definitely. And I have been quite obsessed with the body use for many years, and I also noticed that at some point it kind of took a little bit over. It took too much focus. And I forgot a bit about music. So I also have been trying to kind of changed that a little bit lately and actually focus on the music also. So it's always a balance, like between working on technique and body use and actually practicing expressing the music, because I think also that needs practice to actually feel the music and express it. And it can be quite scary, I think. At least I feel that sometimes to actually express the emotions and feel the emotions inside your body on stage, it's like opening your heart and but when I manage to do that, then I feel like, oh, that is why we do this. That is why I so that has also been a journey to come back to the music and to actually feel the emotions. Yeah.
And it's probably a little bit thinking about what you said earlier, that you're now very interested in how, if I understood you correctly, how the use of the body and the physical aspect affects your well-being and your kind of mental state, right? You mentioned that this is one of the areas you're interested in.
Yeah, and that's also, you can take it to the music on the stage also, because when you have support from your body, when you are pushing away from the ground and feeling like grounded, that also helps with coping with nerves, I think. I remember I was doing a concert in London a few years ago, and I thought it would come 20 people to the concert, and then I see through the door before I go to stage that it was like packed church, maybe 700 people or something like that. And I hadn't prepared that much, so I was a bit like, oh, and I almost fainted before I went on stage. But when I came to the stage, and I just felt my feet like pushing away from the ground, and I felt the power from my body, the nerves went away, and I was just completely calm playing that concert, and that is quite fascinating. And there is also some science to back that up. Like, I don't know if you've heard about this power poses and stuff. You can do it before something that you are nervous for, and it actually changes the hormones in the brain, I think. So I think you can really use the body to feel stronger or more secure and more confident, even if it's a pressed situation. And so I think that's a huge potential.
I have a comment, if it's possible. As I said, I'm an amateur clarinetist. I'm playing in a very good orchestra in Mo i Rana called Music as a wind orchestra, and each year we're participating in the Norwegian Championship for wind bands in Trondheim, in the Olavshallen. So in 2016 we won the first divisions, 8 divisions. We won the first division, and 2017 we could play in the elite division.
Wow.
So it's the 10 best wind bands in Norway. So that was amazing experience. And for me, before, when we played in the first division, we came into the Olavshallen, and it was 100, 200 who came to listen. But the elite division, it's packed. So when you come into the Olavshallen, it's 1,000 people there.
Wow.
And for me, it was quite a new experience to feel the energy from the public. And I felt the whole orchestra was lifted by this energy. So I think we played our best concert ever. And we made it 6th place, I think, in the elite division. So the 6th best wind band in Norway. That was, so if you came into the church and suddenly there are 700, and we wasn't prepared that it was packed in Olavshallen. 1,000 people come to hear small mohon music from Mo i Rana. That was amazing. So very interesting to hear.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and it's so interesting that it's communication with the performer and the audience.
Yeah, and we saw the audience sitting close to the scene. Also, we could see the faces of the audience. That was also very new, and the reactions when we played this quite energetic music. It's on wow! It was fantastic. It was a great experience for an amateur to have this experience.
Amazing.
Really
That's when music is fun, when it's like you're just a vessel kind of, and then it's an experience for both the performer and the audience. That's so cool.
Really fascinating how it can provide the support when you don't expect it. Suddenly there are people on the same wave with you and you are feeling empowered. Yeah, that's the power of art. We sort of should be rounding this up, and I wanted to bring the last thing into focus here, because NordSync project is a lot about interdisciplinary productions, that we combine different fields which sometimes feel very far from each other, because there is interdisciplinary productions, very classic ones like opera. This is interdisciplinary productions. It combines ballet and singing and music. Ballet, theater generally is an interdisciplinary production. We are going further. We would like to invite people from wine tasting industries and you name it, cinema, stuff like that. And also listening to your story, Elisabeth, and watching you doing these fantastic concerts in London with the symphony orchestra, and feeling this, a feeling of pride that coming from our small places in North Norway. You're going there, and you were there to perform for audiences, in very sophisticated audiences in London, who are exposed to best performers of the world. We feel very humbled and very happy and very proud, and that's very important, I think, for many people who are watching this and who I work with on a daily basis, younger musicians who are now in their studying periods, who are 15 and 16. It's important to have an example that it's very possible and it's very good for life to combine different things, because now you have another profession in your pocket, and it's not coming in anyhow. It seemed like, at least, I don't know, you can correct me, that it doesn't really come into as a disadvantage. It comes as something that brings you to the next level. And in our kind of philosophy here in NordSync, I think we even wrote it in our kind of statement of philosophy and blah 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 on the website, that we kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from the artists of the what is it called, Enlightenment period, and even before, such like Da Vinci was, Leonardo. You can't be just a musician or artist or engineer. You have to be everything. And I think in this 21st century, I talk often about it, that we are coming to this era, sort of, where the specific specialization is not as desired as it was maybe in 20th century. Musicians has to be more versatile. We have to be more versatile humans, because AI obviously gonna do everything better than we already do. So, sorry for the long intro. I kind of wanted you guys, because it's as much applicable to you, Jante, as it's to Elisabeth. You both have different kind of path combining in your lives. You are a sommelier chef, yet you are working very much with numbers now, right? And pursuing other career opportunities. It's kind of would be interesting to hear from you your perspective on your lives and what you think is value in those lives, and how making choices of professions or anything influences, and if you have something to say to the younger people who are now maybe trying their first steps in a musical professional career or any other career, and are afraid and scared of trying different things. Maybe you have something to tell them of your experience. Maybe Elisabeth, you go first.
Yeah, that's so important what you're talking about, and I think I had an idea that I couldn't do other things than music, because then I wasn't a real musician. I felt like kind of a taboo, that if I did something else as well, then I wasn't good enough or something like that. But I feel like also doing other things gives me more inspiration for music. Like, it has put a little bit of the pressure off my shoulders with that the music, it feels more inspirational when I do it. And and I learn from both.
I think there is kind of a stigma around it, right? I think we're similar, a bit same age. We are kind of grew up in the same a little bit environment. There is a certain stigma on trying different things somehow in a musical environment. I think it doesn't do any good to it, sort of. So
No.
I feel it's important to talk about, and you're giving a fantastic example, and just very, very heartwarming and inspiring to see your concerts. And please post more about it. We want to know where are you, what you do. Please continue with that, and let's do the course.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Jan Terje, what's your take on that? Do you relate to any of what we just talked about?
I think my advice to younger people, not so certain for which path they are going to. I think it's very important to follow their heart. For me, when I was 16, 17 years old, I had quite good marks in school. I was also playing the clarinet back then, but was not so good. So musical career was not actually for me. But okay, good marks at school, engineer, yeah, perhaps. But as I was a kid, I was in the kitchen with my mother. I was fishing, hunting with my father, making these fish dishes, and food has always been a very important part of my life. So back then, if I should have lived my life, started back in 16 years old, I would have been a chef. From that day, I wouldn't have these engineering things. It was quite boring. 1 years in school and it was boring. So okay, I have to follow my heart. I have to be a chef. And also when you're a chef, I had this interest for wine. So it was quite simple, actually. But you have to make the right choices, and it's not so easy. Fortunately, it's very simple to switch nowadays. You can switch. I heard a lot of people that starting at one school and it was not for me, and they switch to the right course. So
yeah, I mean, especially in the Scandinavia, we are quite safe, and I had to remind that to myself also a couple of times, that you have to be trusting yourself a little bit more, and you're not gonna die of hunger here for sure. So why not trying? And also 2 years in this, I don't know what average person lives, 80. 2 year in an 80-year span, it's nothing. It's
of course.
So it's like I think it's a good note to round this up. I really want to thank you guys for joining. It's fantastic that you could, and I'm very happy that I'm going to see you all again very soon, somewhere, either in Mosjøen or in Mo i Rana. And please subscribe to our channel, both on YouTube and our website. We are having amazing guests coming every third or so week. There will be 2 more online seminars this year. Something around 16th of May. That's not a good date. We will be too busy preparing our jordbær and champagne. But somewhere in the end of May we will meet again, and so in June we will round up the season. Thank you again.
Thank you, Stefan. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
It was really
very interesting to join us.
Yes. Yes, we keep going with that, and thank you so much for coming. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too. Bye-bye.
Guys.
See you.
Bye-bye.
See you.